Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at the last Battle Pass vehicle, which is coming out for Season 10. There is also the name of the Battle Pass. It's going to be Royal Guard, which I think is a pretty cool name. We'll have to see what it brings along. The decoration should be pretty fun though. This is the AMX-50 TO90/930. It is the other AMX-50 that's been sat in the files for a few years now, basically the same time as the other AMX-50. It should have clued people in when they renamed the other AMX-50 that this one was going to come in some capacity when it came to the game. It's a medium tank, rank 4 for France, and it is also going to be a premium. So I've got to say, even though this thing isn't that unique, it's pretty similar to the one that's already in the tech tree, I would really say that this is a great premium to have, because the French tree around those BRs is incredibly fun and also incredibly strong. It's where the French tree really comes into its own with its kind of unique abilities, with its autoloaders and all of its other features. Very, very happy to see this one, and definitely is the crown of this Battle Pass. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and also like the video. Let's get into the history of this vehicle. The AMX-50 prototype series was a French attempt to create a domestic tank design to replace the obsolete wartime models. Originally, engineers borrowed many solutions or even entire components from the German Tiger II and also Panther tanks. However, a number of their own developments were also implemented, in particular an oscillating turret and a semi-automatic gun feed. One of the variants of the AMX-50 design was a prototype developed in 1950. It featured a 90mm D911 APX gun and 2 rifle caliber machine guns. Before we get into the AMX-50 and how well I think it's going to do, I think it's worth pointing out that in the devblogs of the last little bit, there's been a bunch of mistakes in them, and usually the standard for devblogs is pretty high, but for some reason the last few have had some issues. So the Project 183 BM21, half of the history section is not history about the vehicle. It's actually the first paragraph of what they were trying to talk about for the vehicle. So that still hasn't been fixed. There was a wrong word that was used in the AMX-50 one. I believe this has been fixed already, so that's really good. But there is also a spelling issue when it comes to the history. An A or an an is the wrong way around. So it's just odd, because usually the standard for devblogs is very high when it comes to War Thunder, and hopefully it gets back to that point. But recently there's been a few issues, which kind of sucks. Anyway, going into the AMX-50. If you haven't played the AMX-50 in the actual tech tree, then let's just say it's one of the better vehicles in the French line. There is a reason why all these autoloading tanks keep going up in BR, whether it be the Char 25T, or even the AMX-50, or even the Surbassé, or even stuff like the Sublinder, which still has a very high BR. The vehicles themselves, the Lorraine obviously being the biggest example of a vehicle that has changed so much in BR over the years, they are just super fun to play. They're highly mobile, they have a very good gun. Even though they don't have gun stabilizers, the gun is pretty stable, especially on the move, and generally they're just really nice. They also have some awkward armor in areas, so therefore they can tank shots that people wouldn't be used to, and that is just something which is very fun. The vehicles don't have access to stuff like heat, but they do have a very hard-hitting AP round. So if you penetrate with it, which the vast majority of the time you're going to do, you are able to do a ton of damage. The other thing is, because they're all auto-loaded and have very good loads, that basically means that once you do a crippling shot to an enemy, you can finish them off really quickly with another one. This was the strength of stuff like the the Type 90 back in the day, where you could get a lot of rounds off very quickly to annihilate a vehicle near you. The other thing about stuff like the AMX-50 is the simple fact that this one has access to extra machine guns, which will help against stuff such as helicopters, and also lighter targets. You'll be able to mark them a lot easier. But everything else is pretty much the same as the other one. This has a very similar turret to the Char 25T. They mention it many times in the devblog, basically being the same. And also, at the same time, the difference is, of course, the upper glacis. It says, despite the fact that the general trend of post-war tank engineering was clearly aimed at lightening the armor, the upper glacis of the AMX-50 TO90 930 hull has solid 90mm of steel at a rational angle. So this does mean that this thing has pretty decent armor on the front, so kind of like how you have the Samua in there as well, which has pretty chunky armor, but this one is labeled as a medium tank, so it'll get access to good, costs when it comes to bringing it into battle, and also access to artillery, which obviously heavy tanks don't get. It also can get up to 57 kilometers an hour, which means it's a great flanking vehicle. The gun depression is completely fine on the vehicle as well, since the turret is mounted very forward on the chassis, and the vehicle is just nice. I don't know how else to put it. The combination of the gun, the autoloader, and the mobility makes this medium tank very, very fun to play. It's just a vehicle that is fantastic in all of its areas. The only issue it may have is maybe its reverse speed isn't the best. That can definitely catch people out, but everything else about it is just really nice. And as a Battle Pass vehicle, this thing being at rank 4, it means that it's going to be able to grind the vast majority of the French tech tree just by itself. The French tech tree is my favorite when it comes to ground forces, because you get a bunch of different vehicles at the lower echelons, a lot of different nations' vehicles, which create pretty powerful lineups. Rank 1 is kind of a test of faith, if you want to put it like that. If you can get through rank 1, then you can get yourself the goodies. Rank 1 is very rough, but rank 2, especially with the addition of the M4 105, and then also stuff like the Stuarts, really came together very well a year or two ago. And then the rank 4 and also rank 5 has always been very strong for the French. The major issues with France is its highest tier, where there is a little bit of a gap between around about 9.7 to 11.0. Obviously, they have the AMX-40. They've added a few other vehicles in that area to bolster it, which has been really nice, but it could do with a few more which are in there. The addition of the AMX-32 105 was a lovely addition to see, and hopefully we see more of those vehicles going forward. But the AMX-50 adds to an already very powerful lineup and gives you a premium option to be able to grind SL and also to grind RP efficiently. A lot of people are going to look at this battle pass and say that the vehicles are not very unique, they're not very interesting. That may be true, but all of them are functional. The Project 183 with its 25mm is going to be very good as long as it's low BR than its standard 183. The BF109F4 is a completely fine machine. It works very well in most game modes, can do a variety of roles if it needs to, and the AMX-50 is a barnstormer. So overall, the vehicles themselves are good, even if they are not that interesting or unique. It is, as I said, kind of sad that for the 10th Battle Pass, it seems like it's not being celebrated as much as I would have personally liked. There doesn't seem to be any nod to the fact that it's the Season 10, but hopefully there is something when it comes to decorations or decals, or even maybe a title for it, which would be cool to see. As always, though, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Forge, Siegebreak, Carrion Crow, Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, and also Sem Arslan, Wilkski, Uncle Bean, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.